Start your day with ABC7's Good Morning Washington, where good mornings start.
Tonight, fire and nature's fury, the extreme weather from coast to coast. Western wildfires raging out of control, one doubling overnight. Homes destroyed, hundreds evacuated as severe storms stretch across the country. Sam Champion standing by. Immigration flashpoint. President Trump campaigning on the border battle amid chaos over the migrant children. And new fallout after his press secretary is asked to leave a restaurant over moral differences. A call for justice. The parents of Antoine Rose speaking out. The unarmed teen shot and killed by a police officer. What his grieving mother is telling us tonight. Water fight, firestorm. A woman calls the police about an 8-year-old girl for selling water without a permit. The confrontation going viral. Tonight, what that little girl has to say. And Roseanne in tears. The first time we hear her voice since her show was canceled.
I made a huge error.
Her emotional interview with a spiritual advisor.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Whit Johnson in for Tom Yamas. And we begin with the extreme weather tonight. The wildfire emergency in the west. In Northern California, the Pawnee fire roaring to life, burning out of control, forcing hundreds of people from their homes. Damaging storms across the plains and southeast, this supercell tracking across parts of Nebraska. And now the severe storm threat with 14 million people in the storm zone. But it's the wildfires that have crews waging a battle tonight, a fierce start to the season after one of the state's worst fire years on record. ABC's Will Carr starts us off near the front line tonight.
Tonight, extreme heat and wind fueling wildfires across parts of the west. Flames flickering through smoky skies over Northern California, the Pawnee fire doubling in size overnight, torching over 1,500 acres in 24 hours and still growing. At least 12 structures, including some residences, have burned. Nearly 600 more buildings and homes threatened. Hundreds of residents told to get out as flames close in on their homes. Chopper shots showing the sheer magnitude of the blaze. Crews racing to douse the flames and cut fire lines.
Firefighters have quite a challenge on their hands out here, but they're fighting this fire aggressively, both from on the ground and in the air.
Meanwhile, more fires raging across central Oregon. The boxcar fire setting these hilltops ablaze, scorching an area twice the size of Washington, D.C. Firefighters dousing hot spots from above, desperate to get the upper hand. The inferno, one of 3 burning statewide, all fueled by hot, dry, gusting conditions.
And Will, quite the scene out there. We can see those flames off in the distance behind you. Tell us about the conditions firefighters are battling right now.
Well, Whit, you may be able to hear the winds picking up. Those fire crews doing everything they can to jump on those flames on the hillside behind me. And keep in mind, this comes on the heels of last year when the state had the most destructive and the largest wildfires in history. You can hear that airdrop going on behind me. We still have a long way to go with this fire season, Whit.
Incredible. Will, right in the middle of it all. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. Next to the severe storm threat on the move tonight. Blinding rain in Nebraska, a menace on the highways, and the cleanup after damaging storms in Memphis. Sam Champion joining me now. And Sam, just how dangerous could these storms be tonight?
Well, you just showed some pretty tough images, Whit, so let's show everybody what's going on the board right now. We'll look at this first area of storms, the watch zone that's in Oklahoma, Texas, all the way into Arkansas. That runs till 11 p.m. Central, and those storms have been going all day. That's what's responsible for the video you just saw, that 73, 80-mile-per-hour winds through that zone. Let's back up into Colorado a little bit. That line will run a little bit late tonight till about 9 or 10 o'clock. We've already seen buckets of hail come out of that storm. We'll notice 1 or 2 storms scattered all the way through the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and it doesn't look too bad, but these storms are just developing now, Whit. So they're going to lose their punch when they get right to the coastline. That little storm in Washington, D.C., there's a marine warning for that, 50-mile-per-hour winds and probably some rough rain and hail in that. Just touching on the fire danger, this area in California is so warm and a small cool down, 91 degrees to 94 Monday and Tuesday in Sacramento. The rest of the area stays that warm and warmer for the next 3 to 5 days in bone dry.
And last year, devastating in the West when it comes to wildfires, too.
Absolutely.
So here we go again. All right, Sam Champion, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We turn now to immigration. President Trump campaigning on the border battle in Las Vegas this weekend, calling it a winning issue for the Republican Party. But there is new fallout after his press secretary, Sarah Sanders, was asked to leave a restaurant over moral grounds. So tonight, will Congress step in and settle the differences? ABC's Tara Palmieri is at the White House.
Tonight, the president intensifying his biggest issue, saying the midterms may make or break his immigration demands.
We need people that can help us. We want a merit-based immigration system. We need safety at the border. We need the wall. The wall's going to happen. It's going to happen.
In a flurry of tweets, Trump blaming Democrats and even suggesting that immigrants don't deserve due process. Tweeting, "We cannot allow all of these people to invade our country. When somebody comes in, we must immediately, with no judges or court cases, bring them back from where they came." Republican lawmakers set to vote on immigration reform bills this week that will fail to pass without Democratic support, asking the president to cool his tough talk.
Congress has to fix this, and what is bothersome is the president's rhetoric about the Democrats and their unwillingness to have any type of border security or control.
We need a wall. We need border security.
The chaos at the border reaching a flashpoint for White House staff. Tonight, new fallout after Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was kicked out of this Virginia restaurant. Outside the closed Red Hen restaurant, signs offering appreciation on the front door, next to bouquets of flowers. Many others, outrage. Yelp flooded with one-star reviews. The restaurant's online menu hacked. Comments on Facebook included, quote, "You have successfully become the poster child for intolerance in our country."
The separation of illegal alien families is the product of the same legal loopholes that Democrats refuse to close.
The restaurant owner explaining her decision, telling the Washington Post, quote, "I explained that the restaurant has certain standards that I feel it has to uphold, such as honesty and compassion and cooperation. I said, I'd like to ask you to leave." Sarah Sanders tweeting, "Her actions say far more about her than about me. I always do my best to treat people, including those I disagree with, respectfully and will continue to do so."
And Tara Palmieri joins us from the White House this evening. Tara, lawmakers have struggled to get anything through Congress on immigration before. What are your sources telling you about this new bill that will be proposed this week?
Well, there's a vote on the compromise immigration bill on Tuesday, but that bill is unlikely to pass. Now, my sources are telling me that Republicans are working behind the scenes on a more narrow bill that would cancel the 20-day cap on detention for children so that they can stay with their parents while they await immigration proceedings. But Whit, that bill is unlikely to get much support from Democrats. Whit?
Tara at the White House, thank you so much. Meantime, there is chaos at the border. The Trump administration releasing a plan to reunite those migrant families. More than 2,000 children separated from their parents in the past 2 months, some being transported on this bus in Texas. And tonight, ABC's Marcus Moore has traveled across the border to Mexico, where people are gathering, hoping to get to America.
Tonight, protests continue along the Texas border.
What do we want?
Hundreds of demonstrators at a port of entry in Tornillo demanding answers on those immigrant children separated from their families.
The Trump administration should provide evidence for each and every child who has been reunited.
These are the images of the young children being transported from a processing center in McAllen, Texas. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren touring that facility today.
It's a disturbing picture. There are children by themselves. I saw a 6-month-old baby.
Late tonight, 32 parents separated from their children released to the custody of a local shelter in El Paso. Overnight, DHS saying more than 500 children are already back with their parents, but still more than 2,000 remain separated from their loved ones.
And many people who reach the U.S.-Mexico border but are turned away end up in cities like this, Reynosa, Mexico, where they wait for the next opportunity to cross.
Isidro Solis fled violence in his native Honduras. We met the 37-year-old and his wife and kids at this migrant shelter in Mexico. He says he's willing to risk it all to one day see his family's safe passage.
I want to take my family to U.S. I can't go back to Honduras. I cannot. If I go back to Honduras, I gotta kill my family.
And Marcus Moore joins us live from McAllen, Texas. Marcus, you spent much of the day across the border in Mexico talking to those migrants who described the terrible conditions in their native country. How determined are they to reach the U.S.?
Well, Whit, there's a real sense of desperation. Many of them say they will stop at nothing to get across the border. One man who's been in Reynosa for 9 months told me he plans to try to cross again next week. Whit.
All right, Marcus Mora for us. Thank you. Next to the shooting death of a teen running from police, an officer opening fire in East Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Daily protests have followed the shooting of Antoine Rose that began with a traffic stop. And tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from the teen's parents. ABC's Kenneth Moten on the scene again for us tonight.
I miss my baby.
Tonight, the words of the grieving mother and father of Antoine Rose.
Every time you turn on the TV, it's a young African-American male shot by the police. And you say, I feel sorry for them. To them is me. To them is him.
The 17-year-old shot and killed by East Pittsburgh police officer Michael Rossfeld last week as he ran away from a traffic stop.
He murdered my son in cold blood.
The car Antoine was riding in was suspected of being involved in a drive-by shooting. Investigators say 2 guns were found inside, and the teen had an empty gun clip in his pocket.
The ones that say Antoine shouldn't have been in the car, to that, you say,
when I leave here, and we leave here, we are going to the wake of our 17-year-old son. Shut it down!
Antoine's death has sparked nights of widespread protests. The shooting captured on cell phone video by this woman who didn't want us to show her face.
It was like he was taking target practice out on this young man's back. He didn't flinch. He didn't say stop running. He didn't say anything.
Antoine's parents believe that video is key to bringing their son justice.
By the grace of God, there is a video. Because if there wasn't, this conversation would be totally different.
I asked Antoine's parents if they believe the investigation will be fair. They said they hope so. Hundreds of people have lined up for Antoine's wake here. We can also tell you that after his funeral tomorrow, the county district attorney is expected to release new details about the shooting and the investigation. Whit.
Kenneth, thank you. We'll have more of Kenneth's interview with Antoine Rose's parents on GMA tomorrow morning. Next to the deadly standoff in San Diego, police answering a 911 call about a violent disturbance coming under fire. 2 officers shot and neighbors caught in the gunfight. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez has more.
There are officers down inside of the apartment building. I copy 2 officers injured.
2 police officers recovering tonight, hit by a spray of bullets fired from inside a San Diego apartment.
At the other end of this hallway, we're in that crossfire.
Calls of possible domestic violence and smoke from one of the units here coming in around 10 Saturday night. Officers responding, getting no answer at the front door.
Obviously, some concerns about a fire inside the apartment, so the officers made a decision to open the door. Upon opening the door, they were met by gunfire.
One firefighter forced to take cover in a neighboring apartment.
He's trapped in the hallway in apartment number 6. He can't move.
Rescued by the SWAT team. The entire complex evacuated as police exchanged fire with the gunman.
At this point, it does appear that the suspect is down. SWAT has the large robot inside clearing the room.
That suspect later pronounced dead at the scene. And Whit, one of the injured officers is a 3-year veteran of the force, the other with the department for 18 years. Both are expected to make a full recovery. Whit?
Marcy Gonzalez, thank you. Now to Roseanne Barr's candid and emotional comments. The first we're hearing from her since the racist tweet ending the comeback of her popular sitcom. The star in tears. Here's ABC's Ariel Reshef.
Tonight, for the first time, we're hearing Roseanne Barr's raw remorse after ABC canceled her sitcom following her controversial tweet.
I've made myself a hate magnet.
In a tearful, taped podcast with longtime friend, the spiritual leader Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, shortly after her firing, the embattled star claiming her comment was misinterpreted.
I never would have wittingly called any black person say they are a monkey. I never would do that, and I didn't do that. And if people think that I did that, it just killed me. I didn't do that.
Roseanne, overcome with emotion.
I definitely feel remorse. I am so sorry and humiliated and, angry at myself.
Saying she posted about former White House advisor to President Obama, Valerie Jarrett, while on Ambien out of a disagreement with her politics.
I don't excuse it, I horribly regret it. Are you kidding? I've lost everything. And I regretted it before I lost everything.
Her tweet, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby, equals VJ. It was quickly taken down, but within 12 hours, ABC canceling the comedian.